Okay, so Dave, welcome. Thank you for doing this. We're going to be basically chatting, aren't we? We're going to have a chat for a while, see what comes up, see what appears, and go from there. So I met you a couple of years ago. I think it was on Facebook at the time, and I subsequently ended up actually deleting you as a friend. And I remember at the time thinking, no, but I remember at the time, like, crikey, everything that's being learned from talking to you is sort of blowing my head to such a degree. It felt like, oh no, this isn't going to help me, and it was like a panic type response.
No, that's understandable.
Yeah, but then I just noticed that what I had learned and explored speaking to yourself, it's almost like I couldn't forget it. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah,
it was coming up all the time anyway, even in conversations with other people, and trying to put a message of my own out there. It felt like, but what I've learned from Dave kind of puts all of this to bed, really. So it's quite interesting to.
I don't think it's a learning, though, really.
Yes,
I mean, it can seem that way. I understand that, but it isn't really. That I think that's one of the perhaps one of the most interesting things about it is it's so confronting because there's nothing you can take away from it. There isn't a takeaway, or or like a top tip, or a hint, or something that's going to help me get to where I want to be. That's totally taken off the table. And that's really quite radical and quite confronting. And it's not, I'm not surprised, actually, that you did that. That would make sense.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting what you say there. That I remember when we were chatting yesterday, which is, it's good that I did remember that, because it was only a day ago. It'd be quite scary, wouldn't it? It's like, I can't remember what I said. Anyway, that aside, one of the things we kind of touched on yesterday was the fundamental sort of desire of the me, or the sense of a me, is to make this moment better in some way.
Yeah. It can't help that.
Yeah.
You have no choice but to do that, because it feels like something is missing. And that feeling of something of missing is so pervasive of everything that it can't pin it down. It will try and pin it down onto other objects within its experience, but it can't pin it. It's just like, it's very frustrating, very frustrating. Not everyone is going to say sensitive to it, but that makes it sound a bit special. But not everyone is sensitive to it. But it strikes me that increasingly people are. And the level of, if you like, response, desperation, and panic to that apparent absence, that apparent loss, which the me is that loss. It's not that there's a me who experiences loss. The me is the loss. It's the expelled from the Garden of Eden story, basically. So the price, if you like, of being an individual within this is apparent loss. And so the me is lost. So it's then constantly squirreling around, trying to find what it thinks it's lost, constantly missing the fact that it's the loss that it's trying to fulfill. And that's just very frustrating, and a very small circle, or a very fast hamster wheel, or whatever. Yeah.
It's interesting what you say there. The me is a very small circle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very. It falls away all the time. I mean, it's happening, like when you hear people talking and posting on this platform and on others all the time, it's often it was after the Olympics. It was a fantastic, I can't remember what it was, but somebody was being interviewed. I think it was mountain biking or something. And she went, like, the starting thing went, and then I have no idea what happened. And then suddenly people were cheering and people were at the finish line. No recollection whatsoever, because that functioning, the self-functioning, was absent. It then pops back up again and claims it all and says, oh, it must have been because I was doing this, because I managed my feelings, or, whatever. Just lots of stories about it. But it actually just isn't there. And that happens all the time in meetings, when people are talking on stage, in music, and everywhere.
So would you say, or could it be said, that the me is fundamentally looking to be free from itself?
No.
No.
That's the last thing it wants, actually.
Okay.
That's its biggest fear.
Right.
You might tell that story, but all the me wants is a better experience.
Okay.
So I think we said this yesterday. It's like a negation of this. So it's not this. All it knows is it doesn't want this.
No matter what this is.
Yeah, pretty much. You like if it's just landed the biggest deal ever, then it wants another one, or it doesn't want to lose the customer that's brought that deal. So it's constantly gripping in some form or another. Actually, I think that's why this is such a cool thing to talk about on this platform. Although it's quite radical, and I think most people would listen to it and go, I don't know what he's rambling about. but for some people, it's just really intriguing. It'll be like I remember a sales guy that I spent some time with, and literally it was like, oh yeah, and that was it. It was over. It's very undramatic, very ordinary, you know.
Yeah, that's something I've bumped into many, many times. The me is always looking for something spectacular.
Oh yeah, what it really thinks it's special, like being the center of everything, which is what the me has no choice but to place itself as, is really special, isn't it? So consequently, it imagines that the solution to its special problems is going to be special. And that's enforced by lots of behavior, you know, people with funny hats and chains and incantations, or gurus with chairs and, you know, robes and all that. It looks special, doesn't it? I mean, it's just really not. It's really ordinary. It's just scratching a head, sipping a cup of tea, looking at a camera. That's it. That's what's longed for. It's this already. Nothing you can do or can't do. It's this. This is it.
Why does the me, or the sense of the me, or how do you describe it? Would you just say it's just this sort of contracted energy that comes and goes?
Well, yeah, that's a sort of story that it's a response to that. So I think the story goes that when the child is born, and actually, if you've I was going to say if you've been a baby, but if you've had a baby or been around very small children when they're tiny, you see that they're completely pliable, like the limbs, the total flex. And then at some point in the early months of life, a contracted energy enters the body, and it's like a rigidity, and the brain goes, oh, there's a center then. Oh, right. And at the same, and this is the cool bit. At the same time, it goes, oh, there's a center. It simultaneously goes, ah, I know there's a center. So like knowing and being in that sense are like two sides of the same coin. And that's what really makes this all look real, is the knowing, actually. It's not so much the me, it's that I know I'm a me. I know I'm here, and I know I've got something special to do. And that's where all this like purpose and all that stuff comes out of. I'm special. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here to do something. You know, it's important that I do something.
Yeah, I can see how confronting it can be.
Yeah, it's really horrible.
Yeah, particularly if that sense of a me is so contracted around the idea of purpose.
Yeah, but it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's not wrong. It isn't right either, but it's not wrong. It's not because it's really nothing to do with that. So the me is always going to want to know what's in this for me. How can I sort out my issues that are peculiar to me? They're always, you know, like always peculiar to everybody who gets a cold or whatever is always it's a different, you know, the standard joke about man flu, isn't it? It's a different kind of cold. Yeah, I know you've got a cold, but my cold, well, it's that very special. So it's just in that constant loop. But it can't help that. It's innocent. I think we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
This isn't, I mean, this is sort of, I suppose, comically critical, because that's probably what seems to come out of this character. But it's not judgmental in that sense, because there's nothing else that can happen until something else happens.
There's nothing else that can happen until something else happens.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah.
What I've noticed whenever I talk to you is I arrive with questions.
Yeah.
And as you talk, questions seem to just fall away.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Until eventually there just aren't any left.
And we arrive at just
in that sense. I mean, it could be, it could be a question like, well, what time do we finish, or when's lunch? That's one of my favorite questions. What are we having for tea? That kind of thing, but not the kind of questions that the me is desperate to resolve. How do I solve this issue of me? How do I get there? How do I get to this place that seems like it will be better than here? Because what it knows for damn certain it's not this. That's the thing it really knows. It ain't this. And of course, that's the paradox, is that there's only ever this. So it's trapped. And that's annoying and frustrating and angry. And you look out in the world today and you'll see annoyance, frustration, and anger are plenty.
And your sort of history prior to arriving here. That's the thing, isn't it? Even in saying that, I realize, okay, I'm asking for a story.
Yeah, but that's understandable. Yeah, that's understandable. Stories are cool, and there's no issue. There's no issue with the story arising. I think where we start to get a bit sticky is where it starts to sound like, oh, and that's a teaching, really. So this isn't a teaching. This genuinely has nothing on offer, nothing at all. Whereas a teaching would say, oh, there's a starting point. The story is real. It really happened. It happened at this point, and then I really did all of these things. And as a result of all of that, there's a process, a journey. And if I share that with you, then maybe you can have that too. So it would be very, very special. And it's really not. It's more, or it's so disappointing compared to what the me imagines. Yeah.
So the idea the me can go on a journey to finally be free from itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a confusing story, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But there is.
It can't do that. Yeah.
But if we explore a story for a moment.
Yeah.
You've had your seeking days.
Yeah.
And during your seeking days.
Yeah.
What kind of I'm guessing you were drawn to certain teachers or methodologies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, watching endless videos, reading books, hoping I could learn it.
And what happened?
Oh, well, just constant sort of cycle of, oh, got it. That, like that's how it's horrible. I just, some people I think quite enjoy it. I hated it. And then I heard one particular speaker and it just blew up. It was one word actually, already, and that was it. At that point there was some, I can't really say what, but some recognition that there was nowhere to go, that it couldn't be learned. And that I'd heard people say, you can't get this, it's beyond words, all of that. But the mind goes, yeah, of course it is for them. But for me, oh no, I'm special. I will be able to get this, and then I'll be able to wax lyrical about it. And, and it'll be very special. And then that collapsed.
Yeah, no, you touch on a really salient point, that the me is always looking to be special.
Yeah.
In some way. Yeah.
You can't avoid it.
Why can it not avoid it then, Dave?
I don't know. I think it is this sense of loss, like pervasive loss, or something's not right, or something's missing. A lot of people seem to recognize that, resonate with that idea. It just something doesn't feel right, and often like right back into early childhood. Like it's something. It's just something that's off. It isn't. It's like there's a bit missing. Like you've got a perfect porcelain statue or something. There's a chip. There's something missing. And it feels like that, and that's very much the experience of me. Not experience of the me. The me doesn't have experience. The me is experience. So that's the me experience. Something's missing, something's off. And then with my own free will, my choice, my choosing, my intellect, my energy, I will be able to resolve that issue. I will get there on my journey. And I will use another's journey to help all that comes out of that. It's not wrong. It just seems to be what happens. There isn't anything wrong with it, unless it's your journey, in which case it's usually quite horrible.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because that energy of seeking and that story of a me gives rise to a lot of suffering for people as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, suffering can arise, though. It's just that the me claims it and builds it into its story and turns it into something else special to overcome. But I mean, suffering can arise, grief can arise, happiness, sadness, anything, as far as I can see, arises. It's just claimed by that me or self energy and turned into part of the story of getting there. And so there isn't really a message, but this message is the like the end of that.
Yeah, I always find my head going in like squirming when I talk to you about this stuff, because there's this sense of, okay, so the me can't do anything about the trials and tribulations of what the me seems to experience.
No, it will try.
It will try. Yeah, it will try.
It can't not do that. It will try, and that's fine. There isn't a, you see, because this is everything already. This is home. This is wholeness. This is all there is, literally. Then it doesn't matter that that's the case. It matters very much from the perspective of the me. It matters like heck, actually, but actually it doesn't matter at all.
When we use the word the me, do you think we are talking about what a lot of other people call the ego?
Yeah, funny. I saw a post about that the other day. I'm really not quite sure what people mean, but my general impression of ego is the bits of a character that people wish weren't there, of their own and others.
Okay.
And I think that's where ideas like acceptance and resolution and all that sort of thing come from that idea that if I accept my shadow or whatever the terminology is, I'm never really got into that very much, but if I accept, but there's always the me is at the center of that, isn't it? If there's always something it can do if I accept, if acceptance is mine, if I what's the other one I read a lot? I don't know. Acknowledge is another one. It always has to build itself into the story. And of course, what's really being pointed to here is that it already isn't. So it can't do that because it isn't already. So already there isn't something separate called a me that's doing. There's just this apparent happening. That's it.
But not someone that is happening to.
No, there can be that experience.
Yeah.
But it isn't happening to anybody or for anybody. No.
Just what's happening.
Yeah, apparently.
And do you use the word apparently because what's happening is something that's constantly changing anyway? So
it's just apparently happening. So it's not really happening in the sense that the self would imagine, and that's actually quite obvious, really. There isn't anything special or sort of mystical or spiritual or anything about that. When that hand moves, it's really not clear whether it ever did or not. There could be a memory that goes, well, of course the hand moved, but that would just be the next movement. And once that's gone, it's not really clear. So I think you said at the beginning something about remembering what we were talking about. There's really no need.
You're right, but I 100%, yeah, I agree with you. There was no need for me to do that. But there was a story of, I have to show up and present in a certain way.
Of course.
And that's the thing, that the story of the me is constantly grabbing hold again, isn't it?
Yeah, no, completely. And I mean, if you think about it again, back in business terms, how much that's happening, in businesses today. People, I spent most of my sort of, I don't coach anymore, but I spend time with people, if you like. But most of that time, with people who would feel a bit fraudulent or imposter-like, or they had to behave in a certain way. And there are rituals and things to respect and all of that. There's certain environments where I probably couldn't go in like this, but the same sort of thing would come out, whether this was wearing a suit or beach shorts or a hoodie or or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But there is that sense of I need to be this way, and then it would be okay. It's always a delay. I think we talked a little bit yesterday about time being real. If I could just, and the response to what we're sharing this morning would be the same. If I could just understand what he's saying, if I could just get my head around it, if I could just be a bit more open to what he's saying, then finally I could have got there, and maybe I can do that too. And that's not really what's being shared at all, actually. It's that this is it.
I fall silent a lot
Mm.
when I speak with yourself. I fall silent a lot.
Yeah, that's common.
Yeah.
Your questions just seem to dissolve because a lot of the questions come out of that need to know. This is the other thing, that knowing seems to beget more knowing. So when that response, that contracted energy, the knowing or self-awareness or self-consciousness arises, consciousness being knowing or awareness being knowing, then the need to know more. And that's really the seeking, like the scurrying. If I could know more, if I could really know what is being said, if it would land, if only, if only it landed, or I could be more grounded. All of that, yeah. I remember chasing that one. Chasing grounding. If I could just be more grounded. Damn, missed it again. Missed my grounding.
Oh dear. Okay, so is something that I find interesting. I listened to a podcast you were on a little while back, and you were talking about how there's so much help out there, and yet it seems like the problems are increasing.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's how it looks here, anyway. Like it looks. So the obvious of it becomes apparent when the noise of what it isn't collapses.
Yeah.
I think everyone's used to that. It's like so people will say, oh, I think I read what's he called? A Young Dragon, Stephen Bartlett.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he was saying about how he goes for a walk to solve like the big issues, and I think that's where those behaviors sort of emanate from. It's like when the noise falls away, it's obvious what's next. And I think that's what people talk about when they're talking about wisdom and stuff like that. But it's all very personal. It's all very, because really all there is that. Even the noise that it isn't is that. It's still what's longed for. And that's the bizarre part. Everything you don't want is what's longed for.
So what's longed for is already what is.
Yeah, it's only that. Yeah, that's all there is. Yeah.
So Fahima says, interesting that I'm listening quietly too without feeling the need to ask anything.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, yeah. I didn't realize people would listen and comment. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. So that you really get that
There's
sense.
a lot of power in what's being shared here.
Oh, it's the most beautiful thing.
What becomes very clear, this is what I feel is revealed. And I recognize, even as I'm talking this, it's sort of like the how language is so limited in describing.
No, I don't think so. No, I think it's really beautiful.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I think that's just another hurdle that
okay,
like a tripwire. I think it's beautiful.
You're right again. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I just think it's beautiful. I think when we spoke yesterday, it was so lovely, so fresh, so innocent, like the person who's commented there. It's the same. It's just there's something completely beyond anything I can describe, which is a bit annoying. It's like you can't really say what it is.
It's only annoying for the me that wants to describe it.
No, not really. It's just there isn't. You see, there isn't a me, and that's really the point. Like there's something that transcends everything that is everything, and that's it. And you can't really say anything about it. But what seems to happen is that constant need for knowing and questioning just diminishes And for a lot of people, it seems to come back for a while. It did here and diminish, and then it just goes. And you're just left with everything. It's just normal, bills to pay, speaking to do. Just normal. It's completely ordinary. It's beautiful.
If I could sequence some words together.
Okay.
Would you say that everything carries on happening, but the sense of it happening to someone falls away?
I'd probably just say that's just what's happening. It seems to be happening.
Simpler.
Yeah, it's just what seems to be
Jen
happening.
Healy, sorry to interrupt you there.
No,
Jen Healy says, I'm taking it all in and I'm feeling quite peaceful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Feeling quite peaceful is happening.
Yeah, but it because it's not. You don't have to become a non-dual person. This is what really. I think this is what's so beautiful about this is completely disarming because it's already this. So there's no movement required to get to what's already here. The movement would be it as well.
So I don't need to do tapping. I don't need to.
But why not? Interestingly, I'd heard of tapping, but I never knew what it was. But I do remember as a kid when I had headaches doing that.
Yeah.
I had no idea why, but I thought it was somebody thought it was like a sinusy thing or whatever. So a lot of these things they're just like sort of practical things. If you've got an itch, you scratch it. It doesn't matter. That's really not what's being pointed at. What's being pointed at here is something that cannot be understood, cannot be described. It's a complete and total mystery. That's what's being, and even pointed at, I think we said this, yes, is too much. It sounds like there's a solid point that's separate from everything that could have a pointing from it. And it's the opposite of that. It's everything. It's what is and what isn't, the formless and the form, but not formless becoming form. It's everything. That's it. And it's over already. It's done.
So when we look at the ideas of self-help and self-development, could it be said that the assumption that is being started from is the self in the first place?
Yeah, it's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Because that's really what's being pointed at here. It is confronting, and it does laugh at stuff, and it's done everything that it laughs at. That's cool. But really what's being pointed at is there's no requirement for anything to change for this to be the wholeness that it already is.
Yeah.
Because every apparent fracture is made of wholeness. There's only wholeness. And so the self would hear that and try and put the headphones on and go, oh, cool. Okay, so how can I become more whole? So that wholeness saying to itself, how can I become more whole? That's all it is. And it's completely innocent. The overlooking of it is made of what's being looked for. How do you find that?
That laugh you just let me see if I can remember that. The overlooking.
I wouldn't bother.
No, but I liked it. I liked it. The overlooking. I can't even remember now. This happens a lot when I speak to you as well. There's a loss of. I can't remember what was said or what I was thinking.
The me energy is trying to grip on to things, so it's got something to hold on to. And
let me pause you for a moment because it's this great chance for you to answer a question.
Oh yeah, no, go for it.
What comes up, and I bump into this myself, is what comes up in response to what's being shared is the desire to put onto it some kind of understanding.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it happens so easily.
Completely.
The workings of the me. So Fahima has put, it's just there and we can all access it.
No.
We just need to get ourselves and our stories out of our own way.
No. Sorry. No, that's what the mind would interpret as being said. So you can't access it because you're not. And there's nothing. So genuinely and literally nothing needs to change. But you can't access it because you'd need a separation there, wouldn't you? There's no separation. Find me the separation. There's apparent separation. So like you're over on that side, I'm on this side, and whoever's listening is where they are. So apparent separation. There's no real separation. So you'd need something really happening. And again, the self is always trying to work it into the story. Okay, so if I can accept, if I remember once a client telling me they were getting in their own way, and I said, "Okay, just do that for me on camera."
Yeah, how do you do that?
And look, I'm being silly because I am, but we know the experience of that. But that it's illusory. How would that even happen? It's just the mind's got a very clear idea of how this should be. And what it knows darn sure is it's not this. It's not totally sure what else it should be. It's got some ideas that'll throw at it, like no one's starving, no war, everyone, love. And that's where I think that's where sharing understanding comes from, because then there's a feeling then that if you share understanding, so often people become quite evangelical and they're like, so if I got this, and if everyone got this, then yeah, and this flame throws that as well. It's like, well, no, that's this. Ta-da! And it would be super cool if war stopped. I would. It would. It's like absolutely for sure. I'd love to wake up tomorrow morning and everybody had gone, do you know what? This nuclear, this war thing, this is crap. We should stop it. It's rubbish. All that money, we should rethink. That'd be lovely. And there's no need for this, because wholeness is already wholeness. So it's just currently wholeness appearing as conflict, as tragedy, as unspeakable stuff. So I'm totally great with all of that stopping. But wholeness doesn't change. It's just wholeness appearing as that.
Wholeness wouldn't be whole if it didn't allow for everything.
It doesn't allow. No.
So I feel it happening. The attempt to try and explain.
No, of course. Obviously so. Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, there's no allowing. What would allow this?
Yeah, you're right. The word allowing implies something that can allow, doesn't it?
Actually, it's just part of what me would like to think it can do to get there, because clearly it's not here. Overlooking the fact that there's only here. Apparently.
When we had our conversation yesterday, one of the things that probably struck me the most was there was a period where you said something and I saw that as an opportunity to give your words back to you.
Yeah.
And you pulled me up like that, bang, so quickly. Yeah, you just said to me, Danny, but you're using this as a game now.
Yeah.
You're using this as a game now. And I realized, straight away that, and I kind of quizzed you on that and asked you about it. And you said that the reason I know you're playing a game now is because there's no games going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was beautiful.
Oh, okay.
That was beautiful. Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a question. Fahima is throwing the questions at us.
Yeah, great. I love it. Okay. Thank you. That's brilliant.
What do you think it will take for enough people to access wholeness to mean we could get to a place of no more wars?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. The problem is that this is wholeness. So you can't access it. This is wholeness already. It's already wholeness. So it's wholeness appearing as devastation, war, famine, poverty, injustice, And that's wow. I mean, to even go near that on a platform like this is unthinkable, really. But that's what it is. Because it's wholeness, you see. So nothing needs to happen. And it'd be massively cool if it did, but nothing needs to happen. So that the mind is always locked onto the idea that if only that could happen, then I'd overcome what appears to be missing. And when that collapses, when that falls away, and that's not someone having the experience of accepting the way the world is. I think I wrote that on a post on LinkedIn this morning, actually. It's interesting that question's come up. So it's not someone here accepting that, well, this is just the way, the war is. Somebody tries to kick my back door in, there's probably going to be a response to it, I imagine. So it's not about someone accepting, it's that this is already wholeness appearing as this. They're very different things.
Yeah. Fahima says, "Oh, that's really heavy."
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's huge. Because when we think of things like wholeness or dare I say unconditional love, the mind has its view of what that would look like.
100%. I was going to say, this is what I've seen as a gradual process or movement in the what people call self-development. Is it starts off with what can I change around me, to what can I change within me, to hopefully connect with what's being said from yourself and realize no.
It's all the same game.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It isn't wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm not suggesting that it's wrong at all.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting it's right either. It's entirely neutral in the purest sense of the word. It's just everything appearing as that. And there's no choice in it. And even the idea that I am choosing isn't chosen. There isn't somebody choosing that idea. It's just a functioning and a process. And electricity and however all that works, don't have a clue. No idea. Not my world.
It's really interesting, actually. You've mentioned before how the sense of what we call a me, so often throughout the day, it's not there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not there at all.
Yeah,
and everything still happens.
No, completely. Mm-hmm. The most common one is like people driving, and this still isn't really what I'm talking about, but anyway, it's a nice story. When people are driving, and suddenly they come to, like, well, how did I not crash then? Like, how did I get here? How did I drive halfway around the M25? How did that? Wow, I must be something. I must need to rest or whatever. Well, you're not driving anyway. It's already there, and there's no choice about the claiming of it either. It's not like it's an option.
Okay, what do you mean by there's no choice about the?
Oh, so the claiming that I am the driver, there's no choice about that. If that's what's apparently happening, that's what's apparently happening. It's not wrong.
So why is there no choice about it?
No, it just isn't. There's no chooser.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. The reason there's no chooser.
Yeah, and if there's the experience that there's a chooser doing the choosing, then there's no chooser doing that. It's just a reaction to a reaction to a reaction to a reaction to a reaction. There is no like fixed point at which you could go, the chooser or or whatever you want to call it. That simply isn't.
I've arrived at a space of like, I don't even know what to say anymore.
No, that's right. It just falls off.
Yeah. But it really does, doesn't it? It's just it's a falling away of anything that appears like it's added to in order to make what is different to what is.
No, yeah, that's lovely.
Even what's coming out of my mouth, I'm not.
That's lovely.
am I saying?
Yeah. Well, you see, I think that's why, to me, this is the most beautiful thing, is because in our conversation yesterday, there was stuff I'd never heard before. It's never come out of here before. Like you just said there, that's never come out of there before. Wow, it's beautiful. It's completely fresh. Every time this conversation opens up, it's completely and totally fresh. The concepts are the same. The concepts are pretty simple, really. And in their own way, discussing the concepts is quite fun. And it's quite obvious, if you think about it. Like, you think about how we language things. You talked about limits of language. And I'm not sure I agree with that. But, we'd say, you might say at the end of the interview, so, what are you doing next today? And I could comfortably say, well, I can't remember actually, but I've got to go to the shop, or I've got a call with someone, or I'm going to answer the 1,000,001 messages that people are bound to send at the end of this. All that, I could that's beautiful to be able to language that. That's perfect. But it's quite obvious that when I say I am going to the shop, that there isn't an I separate from the body that's going to do the going. It's just going to the shop, which in some languages is how they language it: going shop. In fact, in this part of the world, that's, I think, what people say. What you're doing, going shops, going blue water. That the eyes drops completely. Interesting.
Right. Yeah.
It falls away. So it's quite obvious then that there isn't somebody separate, but it just feels like there is somewhere, usually in here or in here. There just isn't.
Fahima is really enjoying this.
Oh, that's lovely.
It is, yeah.
I'm enjoying Fahima enjoying it.
Fahima's wonderful. But thank you for this. This falling away feels so good. Similar to the feeling of putting down a heavy load.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah. The sense of having to be someone is a burden. It's I think really what the original sin was pointing at. Apple. Oh, now I'm naked. Ugh. That's annoying. Didn't know I was before.
This is the big thing that keeps coming up over and over and over for me. This sense of, like you said very early in our conversation, the me will never allow this to be enough.
No, it can't. No, it's the negation of this. Actually, that's what it is. Its very essence is not this.
The me is the negation of this.
Yeah, it's not. It isn't really, because it's still what apparently happens.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's important, because in particularly in non-duality, that can be the sense of, oh, okay, so what needs to happen? You can hear the trap already. There just needs to be a falling away of the me. So I used to hear people on who go back to sessions over and over, hoping that the me would fall away. Well, there isn't one. So I don't know how that would happen.
Would you say it's an apparent realization?
I don't know really. I think recognition might be a better.
Okay.
Because it's quite nothingy. It's a very thin, like, veil. Like, it really is. To it, it's it's like the thickest thing ever that requires a lot of smashing and it's very important.
I've been down that route.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. But really, it isn't. It's like it's a will o' the wisp. There's really nothing. There really is nothing to it. Actually, it's completely what's the word? Ephemeral. Is that the right word? There's no substance to it whatsoever. It desperately wants there to be substance to it. It wants to be someone. Yeah, that's it. It wants to be someone to try and overcome what it thinks is lost. Ironically, missing that it's the apparent losing of everything. But it's made of everything. So it's so beautiful, isn't it? Even the apparent struggle is made of healing. How amazing is that?
Yeah, it is. It's incredibly beautiful, and so direct and simple that
too simple to
It's
explain.
so easy to negate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's so simple. It's completely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Completely. It cannot be believed. And that's why I think that's probably maybe what makes it a bit challenging to approach. Is, well, first of all, it can sound incredibly confronting.
Yeah.
And secondly, it's unbelievable, isn't it? The idea that this is what's longed for? Really? Come on, it just sounds like I'm a fruitcake.
Well, there's so many apparent messages of this is not enough, isn't there?
Yeah. And that's what's longed for. Nothing needs to change. Nothing.
Jen Healy has put, the sense of having to be someone is a burden. That's my takeaway from listening.
Yeah. Just to that, Jen, just that burdens are made of wholeness as well. So actually, the load you imagine you're carrying, in a sense, is already weightless.
The load you're imagining carrying is already weightless.
Yeah, it's like zero gravity, in a sense. So there's already no burden.
We call you the mind murderer, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I like that. Not sure about the murderer. Not sure about the murderer bit. I'm not sure I could do that. But yeah, completely. Yeah. It is. It is a bit like that. Yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah. So you mentioned that people have this sense that the me needs to fall away.
Yeah. That's what could be heard here, or could be a takeaway.
Yeah.
So if there's less me, then.
Yeah, but then we're back into the me again, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Only the me would probably care whether there was a me or not.
Wow. Yeah. And again, I've arrived at this space of like, okay, don't know what to say really.
No. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And then the ordinariness of everything continues, writing a post, doing the shopping, getting a client, not getting it, all of it just carries on apparently happening, because that's all there is anyway.
I suppose that one sticking point is what is apparently happening appears to apparently happen differently to a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
So this sort of position of all there is what is.
Yeah, it's not a position, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. It appears that there's lots of individual me's that have to navigate that.
Yeah. Seems to.
Just seems to.
Well, yeah, I mean, apparently, yeah, that seems to be the case, doesn't it? And particularly at the moment, there's lots of conversations about identity and getting that right and all that stuff. Yeah, it's huge.
Okay, Martin Pemberton has a question. He speaks a lot about ego and self-development and stuff.
Okay.
So, is it like trying to figure it out and then realizing there's nothing to figure out?
Yeah, I my sense with realizing there is that sounds, and I could be wrong, obviously, like, because I can't hear what you're saying, but my sense is that can sound just a little bit personal. So it's sort of a kind of life with no opposite, in a sense. So I think that's so it's a falling away, which then can't really be described.
Yeah.
But that's this. It isn't something else. It isn't something that's going to happen at tea time. It's this. Tea time would be this. No, nothing else.
Tea time would be this.
Yeah.
Or this appearing as tea time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there's only this. This is it. See, even it's interesting when you get like too micro on it, trying to it or thing it. Even appearing in that sense can sound like, ooh, there's So there's something I can grip there. So this is like totally gripless. There is nothing at all to hang on to. Absolutely nothing whatsoever. And that includes all the things that might apparently be hung on to.
Yeah.
So it's unconditionally everything. It's unconditionally free, unconditionally wild. And it can appear as if it's terribly constricted and restricted and tame and everything in between. Because it doesn't need to be anything already. How wild is that? This has no need to be here. None. It has no need to appear as this at all.
Yeah. Martin Pemberton said, "Thank you."
Oh, pleasure. Thanks for the question. Awesome.
Okay. So another question from Fahima. Something I like to do often. Okay,
Yep.
so I like to do often.
No, that's okay.
Talk out loud in my car whilst driving in a journaling sort of way.
Okay. I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know what this means, but I think it sounds fucking awesome. I think I'd quite like to try it. I find this enjoyable and helpful. What are your thoughts on this practice? Do you see it as indulging in the sense of self?
No, not really. I mean, no. Honestly, it's just that there's, because this is already everything, and the mind can't get that. It tries to turn it into things that would be better. So it's always looking for a better experience. So like even in the questions, which are brilliant, you know, I had no idea that in a sense people were going to listen, and just my own naivety and ask questions. That's really, really lovely, because the questions are the cool part, because then I get to hear it. Like, I have no idea what's going to come out. So, what was the question again? I completely forgotten. Oh, was it self-indulging? Well, it wouldn't matter, right? Because actually there isn't a self that can indulge anyway. So it really doesn't matter. It's the freedom that the mind longs for in a way that the mind could never grasp.
That's beautiful.
Because it's
freedom
already
that the mind
free.
longs for in a way that the mind can never grasp.
This is already free. So literally this could die now. It could just suddenly go. That's how free this all is.
Yeah. Like yesterday, my little girl was
you and unusual for LinkedIn, but I mean, you know, it could do that. You know.
Yesterday, my little girl was sat here, was hugging her. Like, she's got this thing called a Mimi mushroom, which is quite cute actually, because Mimi is the Persian word for boob. So Mimi mushroom is like, because that's what it's for gumming and like suckling, and she just holds it, and it just fell on the floor. And I looked down; she'd fallen asleep. It was really beautiful. She just gone.
Like a kitten or a puppy. You know, when kittens run around, don't they? Like, nah. Yeah. It's wild, chaotic, free. And when you look at the world, obviously so, isn't it? Obviously so.
Yeah. So the me is an attempt to establish a sense of order as well.
Yeah. I know that I'm free.
Yeah.
And if I'm free, that means that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's freedom appearing as that.
Yeah.
So this is quite specific. This isn't about getting rid of the self or the self being bad or wrong. It's that this is already everything, and it's all there is. This is wholeness.
And when you say this, you literally mean this now.
Well, not now. Now is what the mind imagines this is.
Okay, just this.
Yeah. What's as near as you can get to something you can't describe. It's this.
This, yeah.
What is and isn't.
Yeah. No, I like that, because there is a lot of talk. Well, you'll see it on certain platforms. Be here now. Be in the now. You should be present.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. I mean, you know, good luck with that. Yeah. But I know exactly what people are talking about. I read somebody put they were going skiing for the first time in 2 years and were like, oh, you know, I'll be present again. And I get what they're pointing at with that, but yeah, I mean, you could say there's only presence, but no one is ever present. But
Yeah,
you
I'd
could
agree
say
with you.
there's only present.
Yeah, because the sense of me and its contractions and its stories, how can the me ever be with this?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, completely. Well, it's kind of like an annex, dreaming that it's the whole building, sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's only made of everything anyway. So it's not like it's an issue. For it, it's an issue.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. Right? There's no requirement to deny that. The seeking for the me energy is hard going, and there's a lot of that. I would say in the world currently, a lot of that.
So should we just touch on Fahima's question again, because I think it got lost in translation?
Oh, surely not.
Something I like to do often is talk out loud in my car whilst driving.
So she isn't doing that
sort of way.
Yeah.
So she isn't
doing
journaling while it's just what's happening.
Yeah, and that's really what's being shared here.
Yeah.
That seems to be what's happening.
Yeah. But she has asked, what are your thoughts on this practice? Do you see it as indulging in the sense of self? And I like what you said. You're like, no, it's just what's happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Honestly, I wouldn't know. Like, I don't know. It could be. But in a sense, that's kind of like, is this rain wetter than that rain?
Yeah.
It might be. Don't know. It's just wet.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so is there anything you want to share?
Sorry.
Hey, don't apologize. It's it's quite beautiful. So nothing you want to share, Dave?
I don't think so. I've loved it. I think it's been a really, really lovely conversation.
Cool.
And the fact that people have listened and asked questions, I had no idea. So that's brilliant. I love it. I mean, quite literally, I could sit and talk about it all day because it's always completely fresh and new, and it's all there is. This is wholeness. This is everything you've longed for. It's home already, and that includes every experience that it isn't. It includes all of that. And there's nothing outside of everything.
One question I would love to explore with you briefly. Because this is definitely, I've seen is a bit of a sticking point. And it's the concept of when questions arise on asking people about, okay, who do you mean by you? And people will often say things like my soul. Okay, so people will talk about the ego and the soul and things like that. And I'm like, well, I have this.
You're trying to figure it out.
I have this thing about when people start using the word soul.
No, you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to work it through.
Right.
You're trying to get it straight in your head so that if those things arise in the future, you'll know what to say.
That's beautiful, because you've just drilled into why this is coming up for me.
It's knowing. It always nearly always comes back to knowing, right? So if I could just know what to say, if I know how to reply, if I know what they're going to say and what I should be thinking about this, then finally it'd be okay. I'd be confident. It's enough. I'd be confident enough then to share this. I'd be willing enough to share this. I could put myself out there enough that I could share this. Enough. The me is lack. So it's always looking to be enough, good enough, worthy enough, soulful enough, spiritual enough. So that it's caught in that little, again, it's a tiny loop, isn't it? Round and round and round and round and round. Nice enough. Oh my God. Yeah, nice enough. That's a huge one. If I could just be a good person, just be a good enough person. If I could just do that, then finally I could get past whatever this thing is that seems to be irking me. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. So no.
No, that's fantastic. You smashed straight through a story that had appeared.
But it's a story made of wholeness, right?
Yeah.
No one benefits from that.
Yeah.
There's no one to benefit from that story falling away because it's made of unconditional love. So what would benefit?
Dave, if people wanted to reach out to you and
message me.
have a conversation, where should
message
they
me on
message?
LinkedIn. Yeah,
On
just message
LinkedIn?
me on LinkedIn. It's fine, or davekibby@gmail, whatever you like.
Cool. Dave, thank you so much for.
No, thank you. Thanks for
this.
organising this, and I like this software. It's cool, actually.
Cool. Yeah, this has been wonderful.
And thank you to the people listening and the questions. I wasn't expecting that. That's amazing. Thank you so much.
All right.